What's going on, guys? How you doing? It's that time again, GM, and I guess right now for me, good evening. Um, it's good to see you again. We're back. We are a little bit late again, but we're here as always. So thank you for catching us. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out. If you are making the stream, if you're watching it later, thanks for watching it later. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And if this is your first time, I'm Tiny Universe. This is Tiny's Universe. This is my favorite place to talk about Macroverse and try to spread the word to everybody. Right now, the biggest thing in the world is, in my world anyway, is happening. And I can't wait to talk about it a little bit more. With that being said, I want to bring in Eben, as usual.
What's up?
How you doing?
All right. I'm doing well. Actually have a fun little thing to share this evening as we start talking about stuff that's going on. So
Awesome.
That will be exciting. But yeah, doing well. It's definitely getting into the evening today. It's been another busy but fruitful week. Full of things I can and can't talk about, as always, but some very, very good stuff, and good stuff that we can certainly talk about. Lots of good stuff coming. Can talk a little bit. I can certainly talk about some timeline, which will be fun, and then and some opportunities for people to start to kick the tires on some of this stuff as well, which is going to be fun. But yes, I am Matthew's co-founder.
I was going to say, quick introduction, please.
Co-founder and CEO of Macroverse. Macroverse is a next generation publisher and media company. We're kind of playing at the intersection of collectibles and digital content, but looking at really interesting, innovative ways of connecting the dots between those two while caring a great deal about storytelling and maintaining kind of both the richness of storytelling gone by and bringing some of that back to the present day, as well as developing a bunch of new stuff that we think will help bring us into the future of the comics industry and other fun media stuff as well. That was not a great explanation, not my best. But we're doing a bunch of fun stuff.
Well, and it's like now I feel like I got so used to like the old introduction. Like now it's evolving completely.
It is definitely evolving. So, I gotta work on my pitch. So if for no other reason, come back every week to hear I'll be practicing on time.
Hear my introduction get better.
Yeah, I'd say we're a next generation publisher is what we're really, kind of evolving into is probably the simplest way to say it, and crossing the streams, shall we say, between really interesting, high quality physical product and some very unique platform-based digital product, and some cool ways of bringing those things together. So I think that speaks to kind of the projects that we're doing, and then fundamentally we're building tools that will empower other creators to be able to but take advantage of ways of bringing their work to an audience that may have not quite been put together this way before. So that part I'm intentionally a little more vague on, but we're getting close to.
Well, you hit two things that are like perfect for a segue, which are physicals and some digital platform stuff. So I would say I've got a lot of questions on both, but
yeah. Well, let's do it. We can treat this like a little bit of an AMA, but first I'll give a quick Kickstarter update. So if you're not aware, we're running a Kickstarter campaign right now for our first project from our new publishing imprint called Authentic Editions. Authentic Editions is a very special thing that we've spent a lot of time, over 2 years, developing the process for. And essentially, it's being able to take classic comics. And when I say classic comics, I mean 40s, 50s, 60s, comics from 70, 80 years ago in some cases.
Good ones.
Some of the good ones, some of the things that have literally formed the backbone of the comics industry, and bring them back to a new audience, but not just as a reprint, but reproducing them in the way that they were actually produced originally, so that it's as close to the experience of getting in your time machine, going back and pulling these off the newsstand or the spinner rack as possible. They look like the old books, they feel like the old books, they actually smell like the old books. And I just cannot wait to get these into people's hands. And actually, I'll just jump right into it. If you're watching at this point, if you're early, and so this is our last batch of printer samples. And so as we've been fine tuning this, we've been doing a bunch of different tests of exactly what paper are we using, exactly what there's some variability to the different ways we could print these. And so you'll actually see, like, one of my favorite pages here. This is a few different variations of how they could be printed, the exact paper. And so we've just made the final calls on exactly which version we're going to use. And so now we've come to the point where now, as soon as the orders are complete from the Kickstarter, these are ready to go off to get fully printed. And so I don't know how much you can actually see. I'm trying to get close on my camera here.
Oh, it looks incredible. I mean, the color, everything is that like a splash page, or is that just
this is a splash page from one of the books. I mean, just the art is incredible, but I think that the thing that people just won't get until you hold them in your hands is there really is a tangibility to this, which is just you're not ready for. and it's and we make a big deal of this, like the way we're printing these. It's printed on it's newsprint, but it's a newsprint that doesn't have the acid in it, so these won't break down. That's really the main only big difference, is they won't break down in the same way that classic comics do. But the feel of it is very much what a comic from the era would feel like. And again, the smell is reproduced. And you just look at this stuff, and so you can get in here and really see, like, the way that we're printing them is 4-color offset printed, and so you're capturing all the dots and the original coloring, aesthetic and style. And so it really is something that's hard to fully appreciate until you get to hold them in your hands. And so I just getting these last samples and approving these last samples has really, it's just made me so excited for people to get it. Because I think you have if you're into it, you have a conceptual idea, but you just don't know until you get them. So I'm looking forward to, it's given me a degree of what I hope is healthy confidence that when people start to get these in their hands, I think we're going to see a bunch of unboxing videos. I think we're going to see a bunch of, like, really just very pleased collectors and backers that will kind of pave the way for the next releases to come, and a few surprises which will come along with those deliveries, which also makes me quite excited. So that is my additional tease. But we are less than $4,000 away from crossing the 250K mark on the Kickstarter. So very excited about that. There's still about 2 weeks to go in the campaign. We've got a few more fun things planned as upgrades for stretch goals. And then we're actually going to announce what's next at the end.
Well, so let's talk about that, because I know some of the rewards have already been hit. Like, what's already coming? Because let's see.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. We can take another look at the Kickstarter page. So Kickstarter, if you just search for pre-code horror at Kickstarter, you'll find the campaign.
So because I know they did, like, the matted prints and some other, like, some cards. And
so where we're at right now is, if you look at the different offerings, our Frightening 15 is our kind of entry point, where you get 15 of the best really the best, but also the highest value, comics of the era. So this is $150, $10 a book for the core 15. One of the things that we point out is most people, even if you're familiar with the covers, have never actually read what's inside, because you just can't get your hands on these without spending tens of thousands, in some cases many tens of thousands of dollars. And so it's a way to let people actually read and experience these books, which for the vast majority of people, they've just never held one, never read one. So our stretch goals, if for anyone that doesn't know how Kickstarter works, like you have a certain funding goal. One thing I will say is, like, we're not using this as a, it had to be funded in order to make it. We're already making it, but this, we felt like, was a good way to get this into the hands of collectors. So we hit our funding goal, and then, we unlock special rewards at different levels as the campaign does better and better. So at 25K, we added a trading card of Suspense Comics #3 to the collection. When we hit 50K, all of these sets come in these beautiful collector's boxes, and so adding a matte finish to the boxes, and then trading card #2, and then the boxes get embossed, and then trading card #3, and then when we hit 200K, the boxes get debossed. And so what that means is that not only will the boxes have this really awesome design that we created, but they'll have the embossing makes certain areas of the box pop out a little bit, and the debossing makes certain areas of the box pop in a little bit. And so now that we've hit both of those goals, they'll have this slightly 3D effect to the boxes themselves. And then we're just about to hit 250K, which will be trading card #4. And then we reveal the next one. Once we hit that goal.
Oh, man.
And so one thing you'll see in Kickstarters in general, and we made a real conscious decision about this, is that in many cases, the stretch goals are adding more stuff. And for some campaigns, that's really the right choice for a lot of campaigns. Is like, okay, now you get stickers, now you get, more posters, now you get more, just like more stuff. And what we want to do is really focus on how do we make this collection just better and better and better. So it's less about, just adding more stuff, and more about enhancing the quality of what you're actually going to get as a collector of this material.
And that's like, I feel like for someone like me, this is weird because I'm a collector, but I'm not like the hoarder kind. Like I'm I'm like a minimalist. Like I don't want stuff, and I don't want all the stickers. I don't want like the bookmarks and stuff like that. Like I'm obsessed, and I want all the books.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Otherwise, like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's junk. I think stuff is a great word for it, but
there are many things where I'd be very happy to have. I mean, it's there, especially when I was a little younger, and I think that is part of it, is that a lot of the collectors for this kind of material are going to be a little more our age, and that's all great. We welcome you. Younger collectors are welcome as well. This is not meant to be a barrier, but
listen,
I think as you get a little older, a little more selective,
any younger kid that's like into like grabbing the high end, like I want to know what they're doing, because I'm doing I'm on the wrong path.
Not the wrong path.
I feel like if there's, I mean, you never know. I mean, there's kids these days, especially with YouTube and stuff, content creators.
It is actually interesting. We were having a conversation with another potential partner for Authentic Editions, and this is just the beginning of this imprint. But we were having another conversation with them, and the issue came up. One of their questions was, do you see this as something that's really just targeted towards existing collectors, or do you see this as something that could potentially bring new readers into comics? And that question being motivated by, we would like to bring new readers into comics. Yeah. And it's interesting because initially I think, it seems very clear to me that like the core, of what we're offering really is geared towards someone that knows comics, that loves comics, that, you know, has a kind of appreciation for the art form and how these things are artifacts of a particular time and place. And so it's hard to say like, oh yeah, this is going to get, you know, all the new readers who have never, you know, walked into a comic store before. But I do think what's interesting, and this is where I hope this does start to resonate with new readers or people that maybe are only collecting, you know, current material and haven't really been exposed to some of the classic material. What I do hope this helps to do is to bridge the gap so that people that are interested not just in what's Batman doing this week or this month, but also where did this art form come from? What's the historical context of this? How have comics been a reflection of pop culture, you know, our current moment in time, you know, playing on, you know, our hopes and dreams and fears and all of those things. You know, pre-code horror in particular is such a snapshot of, you know, people's concerns and paranoias at that time, which in a weird way echoes to some of the modern day concerns as well.
Really, the shirt goes pretty well. Like
you're wearing the right shirt for the stream today, for sure.
look at this creepy guy looking through the window at this kid reading the Creep Show book. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I think that explains it pretty well.
It does.
But
so I
little kids that were reading it, you know, late at night.
I do. I think, you know, there is a world where it's like there's, you know, just like there's kind of a Gen Z audience for, you know, DVDs and, you know, kind of the appreciation for, you know, vinyl. This is actually, that's a better analogy. This is kind of the vinyl, you know, version of comics.
But check this out, because this is one of the cooler things that I found, and this is, again, like, this is on socials. This is mainly like Facebook, but I'm not going to say like it's not collectors, because it is still collectors, but it's not comic collectors.
Right.
I found, like, as I'm talking about this, I've already found people that are like, oh yes, I've already pitched into this, and they're like Kickstarter collector, you know, like they just are on Kickstarter and they're going through projects that have like high probabilities of success, and they're just pitching money in. And it's, so I guess they're still collectors, but I mean, like, a lot of them are, you know, collecting board games and,
for sure. Yeah,
stuff like that. So they're not necessarily comic collectors. And so it's cool to see, like you said, like how many people are not just tuned into comics and Macroverse and, you know, all the stuff that we would usually see. I mean, like, there's people coming from everywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we can kind of push that a little bit as an answer to that theoretical question as to, you know, can this be something that does attract new readers? And I think some of the plans that we have for, you know, pre-code horror and pre-code, you know, comics in general, you know, that will develop over the rest of this year into next year may also kind of actually help with that. So it'll be interesting, but I do know that, you know, for those of us that are curious or passionate about, you know, being able to have this kind of moment in time captured in reality, it's a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially like now that you're like talking about it, and all the enhancements to the box and everything. Yeah. Now I guess so, like, all the books gonna kind of remain in the initial, like, what they are, or is there any enhancements to the? I guess that's anything beyond is unknown. So,
well, I mean, the books are, we really have treated the reproducing of these as, you know, kind of a mission in some ways, like kind of an obsessive attention to.
I believe it.
Reproducing them, you know, in their original glory. So then, you know, we honestly debated this as like, you know, should we do this or not? Because we did have such a initial focus on just like, how do we do this where it's exactly the same or as close to exactly the same as we could make it. But we then did decide, like, you know, it didn't feel like cheating too much to add some cover variants, because those were things that they actually couldn't do in the original period. So if you look at the campaign, there are some, you know, we developed two kind of foils for this. There's a a silver foil, which is actually a little more of a almost kind of a gunmetal color, which is pretty cool. And then there's a red foil, which is kind of a blood red foil treatment. Both of those are going to be awesome. And then
that's
there's
the one that like I'm really, really like interested in.
Yep. I think people are gonna really like the foils. It's interestingly, just putting just the collector's hat on at the moment. I think people are gonna be surprised how cool the foils are when they actually see them. We're at a little disadvantage in that we can't show what those really look like until we go to press. And so I think we're asking people to kind of trust us that they look awesome.
Here's the thing too, though. I mean, like when you really get, it's funny, man. My friend calls them foo-foo covers.
Yeah.
But when you get into like foils and stuff like that, I mean, there's really no way to show what they truly look like.
Yeah, you gotta hold them. You gotta hold them in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be there in person.
Yeah. But then the other ones that we did, which I'm kind of the most excited about, honestly, is the fluorescents. And so there's a set which are all printed with fluorescent inks, and especially for this collection, like it's something that really pops, and I think is
now. My big question there is that a glow in the dark, or is it just like a?
It's not glow in the dark. It's not glow in the dark, but actually, it's so we actually are still doing a final test on exactly how we're going to print them, because in true Macroverse fashion, we discovered that there was something that no one had ever done before with fluorescent inks. And so when we found that out, when we found that out, we're like, we have to do some testing and see if we can do this. And so we know that we can print the fluorescence the way that people have seen fluorescence before with our own little spin on it. And the way you do that is you essentially add a couple of colors to the traditional printing. And so you have your 4-color printing, and then fluorescent colors are not glow in the dark, but they're literally a specific color tank which gets added to the printer, which will add, in this case, a 6th color and a 7th color. So if it was, picking the yellow and the blue, depending on the cover, like the yellow and the blue would get that, fluorescent color treatment. So that's the way we know we can do it. And then there's another thing that, in talking with the printer, they're like, well, we might, like, you want to do what? We might be able to do that. Let's see. So we're doing a printer test on those. And so at the very least, it'll be the kind of, very cool, kind of what people have seen, but with these particular covers. And then if we pull it off, it's going to be like, so either way, I'm excited.
You're going to pull it off. I feel like
I kind of feel like we are too.
I feel like it's just how it keeps going, and then I'm like, one of these days, I'm literally gonna my head's gonna explode.
Well, it might be when these get delivered to you, so I don't know. We'll see.
On video, oh God, worst video ever. It goes viral. Tiny Universe opens his delivery.
So yes, very excited about that. And then actually, I should know the answer to this, but maybe you do. So switching gears slightly, has your heat seeker covers come in yet?
So I have to call him. It would have been yesterday.
Yeah.
And work has just been like insanity. So I've had my kids the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So I haven't even had like a 30-minute gap to call. But
yeah,
if they went, like I guess last time on the stream, they weren't technically on the receiving list yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But they were still scheduled, so they should be there.
Should be there. Okay. So yeah, I feel like I'm falling down on the job, because I meant to actually go to the comic store yesterday myself to try to get stuff in the wild and didn't.
I'm thinking maybe lunchtime tomorrow. I literally passed the store today, and I was already late coming back, and I was like sitting in traffic, and I'm like, oh, I need to real quick, but I knew it wouldn't be real quick. You know what I mean? Like, so I probably tomorrow. If not, I've got the weekend. So
what we're talking about, and I'll explain why I even asked the question. What we're talking about is another product, kind of category that we've developed called mixed print. And this allows us to create one of X covers for comics and other types of things, which we'll also talk about a little bit later, where every single cover is a unique variation. And so you can imagine, this first release is with Titan Comics, and we've got some interesting fun stuff, some additional fun stuff coming with them. But their most popular internal series is called Gun Honey, and then this is a spinoff of that called Heat Seeker. And so all 4 of the issues in this series will have this treatment where every single cover is a unique variation. And actually, just to clarify that, not every cover that's available is a mixed print, but there's a mixed print edition that, every single one. So with this first one, I think we ended up printing about 3,000 variations. And then we're just delivering the second one to the printer right now. We're moving
3,000.
Moving into 3 and 4. So every 3,000 individual unique cover variations.
So here's what I'll say. I'll at least, like, at the latest this weekend I'm gonna go, and I'm hoping they at least like kept the ones that I reserved.
Yeah, I hope so.
But if I, like, whatever I get, I would say I would love to, like, I'll hold them and I will open them live, but I have to like.
We'll have to do a little content warning.
I'll have to look at it before I actually reveal what it is.
Yeah. You might have to strategically put a thumb, somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be very fun. And so we're doing this Heat Seeker series, and then we've got the next series that we're starting to work on, and then we actually know what the next one after that is as well. So there'll be quite a bit more mixed print coming into comic stores and beyond. So that's also very fun. And then I'm gonna tease an appearance on a YouTube show that came out today as well. So there's a very cool comic YouTube. It's kind of a YouTube podcast, and our head of publishing, Adam Fortier, was on today actually, or the episode came out today. And so I just want to point people to that because he really gets into more of the history and some additional pieces of the process of how we're making authentic editions. And they go pretty deep into some of the process and just the kind of overall history of where this lands in comics in general and how it ties into some things that happened at DC and some very, very fun stuff. So it's a great interview. And that show is called Casually Comics. So definitely recommend checking that out. And I will say, if you're interested in what's coming next, I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but Adam did mention what
someone else has done
in that show. So that's my way of trying to direct a little traffic over to.
I know that this is like streamed kind of everywhere, but is there any way to like link that in the description or anything in any of this?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll at least put it up in the YouTube comments, and we did post it. I believe it's at least posted on our Twitter profile and probably on Instagram and Facebook at this point as well. But yeah, so awesome. Very good interview, and again, little surprise alpha. So.
Good. So I know what I'm doing after this.
I thought that might be the case.
I mean, yeah, no, it's been crazy. I haven't kind of left the house at like, I don't know, 7:30 this morning. Way before that, 7 o'clock this morning, maybe. And I just got home like right before we're getting on here. So, full day. Like I haven't had a chance to do anything. So yeah. I got a lot of catching up to do for the day. That's going to be probably first on the list though now.
All right. Well, thank you for that. What other questions do you have?
Well, all kinds, but you mentioned, you mentioned a lot of things. You said that there was some things you could talk about and some things you couldn't. Hopefully there's some new stuff you can talk about, but you also mentioned I'm going to talk
about timeline for a few things so people can kind of have a sense of what's coming. So So this Kickstarter runs for another couple of weeks. We are going to announce the next project around the end of this one. And we have now a lineup.
So you're already like 100% on it.
Oh,
I'm sure you're working on it.
We're already working on it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I mean, Authentic Editions is a 10-year publishing plan. Like right now,
sure.
we've literally got the next decade mapped out, and if things go according to plan, it will end up being even more than that. So this is a real serious endeavor for us to if things go according to plan, like we'll be bringing thousands of issues of classic comics to people over the next number of years. And one of the ways that we think about this is like there are catalogs of material that we're working with where it's literally 85 years of publishing. And so part of what we are looking at is like, okay, we don't, we could deliver it to you kind of
where do we start?
Well, it's not so much where do we start as much as how much can we deliver and make it workable for us and workable for the people that want it. And so, that'll be part of what we'll be figuring out over these first couple of releases, because, if you're looking at wanting to make, basically a full collection of some of these things available to people, it's like you don't necessarily want to spend 85 years collecting that material, but you maybe also don't want to do it in 1 year. So, where we want to make it accessible while still making it make sense for everyone involved.
I feel like that's what I did. I feel like I collected everything in like a 2-year period.
So that'll make a little more sense when we announce the next project. But I think we've got a template now that we've learned a bunch from Pre-Code Horror. We'll apply that to the next one, and then we already know what the next 3 projects are going.
So the next one's not horror.
The next one is not horror. Switching genre. So that'll be part of the fun. That'll be part of the fun is to kind of cross-pollinate. And this is where I'm excited, because I think this is something else that we are pretty uniquely positioned to do, is because this also will tie back into our platform, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But because this will all tie back into our platform, we're going to be able to do some things for our collectors and with our collectors that I think is going to be pretty unique and pretty fun. So being able to cross-pollinate between the different collections. I will go ahead and spoil this for anyone watching this show. If you've collected Pre-Code Horror, we will have something special exclusively for those collectors going into the next release. And so we really want to both appreciate the people that are supporting what we're doing, and also create some synergy between these things in some ways that we haven't really seen done before. And then being able to kind of link this all back to the upcoming release of the Macroverse platform, which I call Macroverse 3.0, which we'll be able to start having early signups and beta testers, open for in December. So we'll have those doors. The early adopters will be able to come in and actually start playing with some stuff. I won't say a lot more than that, but there'll be some incentives. There'll be some incentives for being an early adopter and kind of being along for the ride as we release, a bunch of different features over the next year, and some fun things you'll be able to do immediately as well. So those are all kind of the things we've been working on over the course of this year, and bringing those pieces together now, as we close out the year, is I think going to be a lot of fun.
So that kind of like vaguely answers the question that I was trying, which was more about the platform and stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's not a lot of details that you're gonna kind of spit out tonight, but I'm definitely still super curious about that because I still use the app, and I've I still go to the website and stuff every once in a while and just kind of mess around on there. So I'm just curious what's going on, I'm just waiting to see it and what I can do with it.
It's a really focused approach to a lot of the ideas that we've played with and talked about over the past couple of years. So I think it's going to be for anyone that's been paying attention over the past couple of years, you're gonna probably see some of the same dots that we've connected in this next release. And then for anyone that hasn't, it's a really clean, fresh way to come into, you know, what we're building. And so one thing I will say is start thinking about your username.
Not mine.
I can guess what yours might be, I hope, but
everybody don't take mine.
Well, you better be in the early cohort of adopters. So
Tiny Universe number 2.
Yeah. Now I kind of want to just take it myself, but
oh god.
It's with an underscore at the end. So you will, you know, for those people that care about claiming your username, you'll have a chance to do that early on. And then you'll be able to start kind of what? No, I don't want to ruin it. You'll be able to start doing some things that will pay off for early adopters.
So like my big question is like how much of the old stuff is everything that's available now still going to be available?
It will not be there in the launch of this first version of the platform. So the first version of the platform is really designed to pair with the delivery of the first batch of physical product. But then what you'll see over the first few months, you know, so once we have people in December, over the next few months, our whole roadmap is about then bringing all of that back online. So everything that's on the current platform will then be returning. And then even more exciting to me is, you know, something we've been working on for a very long time is integrating it all. So, you know, there'll be now feature parity, and as we roll out new features, they'll roll out across, you know, web and mobile and everything simultaneously. So I think, you know, it gives us a lot more to play with as a platform. And it'll also give our creators a lot more that they can do to do the make the stuff they want to make and to connect with the audience that they want to connect with and so forth.
Is there going to be any sound?
Any sound? Probably not in the way that you're thinking of it. I mean, it's not like anything is talking to you just yet, but yes. So no, I guess the answer to that is no, but there will be a lot of visuals and buttons to click. Taps to be had, buttons to be clicked, things to be scanned.
That all sounds fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm very curious. I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm a curious person, so yeah, no, I can't wait. My ADHD like wants to click every button at the same time. What's this?
Well, I'm looking forward to the, you know, we want the first cohort of people to come on to be relatively small because we're testing, making sure that everything goes the way that we want it to and that we expect it to. You know, we've spent a lot of time building kind of the way that people come into the platform and trying to explain, you know, how things work and why they work the way they work. So we spent a good bit of time on, you know, how the onboarding piece of it, you know, flows and trying to make it both actually part of the fun that you can have as without being too cumbersome. So, you know, sometimes you come into a new app or a new platform and it feels like, yes, I need to understand this, but I'm kind of going to school. And we've tried to treat this a little more like a game so that you're learning as you're doing stuff as opposed to like, here's the tutorial. So, you know, we'll see how successful that is and if we need to make any tweaks. And that's always the fun of kind of the first batch of users for something like this. So, I mean, that actually raises a point that if anybody would like to be in that early cohort, then, you know, drop a comment with your email or, you know, come into the Discord and say hi at discord.gg/macroverse. But you can also just drop a comment wherever you're seeing this video, and we'll make sure you get an invite when the time comes. So that will be fun.
It will be.
It will be. And then I think the other thing, which I will just very much tease, is that we have a whole other category of things going on behind the scenes, which will come up next year. I think we'll
whole new category, as in like not comics, not music. Like
it's related, but it's distinct as well. So anyone that knows Bennett has been masterminding this other component of things, and I think is gonna be also extremely cool and exciting in a bunch of different ways. So just something else to tease for early next year as the first of these gets announced, but it will be very cool.
Well, obviously I can't wait either way.
Yeah.
So I mean, did you already kind of touch on the timeline, or?
Yeah, that was my timeline. Sorry, it's not more granular than that, but it's this Kickstarter wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. The next Authentic Editions collection being announced as the wraps up, and then the platform opening.
13 days left.
I believe that
Where
is.
are we at?
I'm actually going to just check right now, but yes, 13 days left. We're at 246, 385. So looking for the next 3,600 and change to bring us
781 backers.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I mean,
it's very awesome. Yeah. So I think what's awesome to me is thinking about like when you do the math and say like even at 1,000 backers, which I think we'll get to by the end of the campaign. We're probably printing somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50,000 books between the different categories. So I love that, because it means that we'll get a lot of these things into people's hands and be able to really grow from there, and it just makes it all very, very cool. Makes me very happy.
Yeah, they get in people's hands. People see them, they're unboxed, they're broken down, they're traded, they're sold.
Oh yeah. And we've had a few people ask. I mean, I cannot wait to see what happens. Like, I have my own little internal theories, which I'm not even going to really share, but I
want to see what an empty box goes for.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we know they're going to show up on eBay. I can't wait to see how people respond to them. It's been really interesting chatting with a few people in the comments about like, what do we think CGC is going to do with these? Or like, one guy that I really loved this question is like, don't you think people will like rough these up and then try to like pass them off as originals? I mean, I kind of love that idea. Like, would you put them in the washing machine? Like,
I was gonna say, throw it in the dryer and toss it around a little bit.
Like, see what happens. Now, I will say, just to answer that question, while we have been meticulous in the reproduction, it is not our intent to have these be counterfeit originals. So in the indicia, and if you don't know
what would happen if you did make a counter? That's like a federal, right? Or
I mean, I don't know how they would treat that for comics, but for any comic or really any book in general, the indicia is the printing. It's the information about publication. So it's the copyright, it's the where it was printed, it's all the information that you need to publish. So of course, all of these books have the original indicia from the original publication date. So that's where we will actually take that little tiny bit of space to do something very subtle, and we'll say, these are Macroverse Authentic Editions. Here's the new publication date. We're printing in Canada, so it'll have to say, printed in Canada. So we'll have those. That will be the thing where it's like, if you're trying to pass it off as an original, all anyone will have to do is open the front cover to go like, well, actually. Now, what I am just so fascinated about with this collection and specifically is that because there really haven't been reprints of a good chunk of this material and so few people have actually read them, I am very curious how the secondary market is going to treat them, because it is, both definitely designed to be collectible, but also like something that, you just can't get. So I am very curious about
I was
that.
gonna say, I think too, like once people start to actually like see the quality and
Yeah.
hear other people be like, wow, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like post FOMO,
Yeah.
like that.
Well, and this is going to be the first collection of a bunch that are coming. So I do think all of those things are, not financial advice, but good indicators for collectability for these this first release. I just can't wait to see. I'm just more than anything just kind of fascinated how that's gonna play out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, even it's like, even if you get if you pick one or two of those, like, I don't want to say bottom, there's no bottom set, but you know what I mean? Like
the basics.
Starter levels. Even if you get two of them, like there's still so many books.
Yeah.
That, so I mean, to me, unless you go for those, unless you go for that top level, even the step down doesn't have the variants. So at some point, like, I just feel like I'm either going big or I'm hitting secondary.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's no way you're not wanting more than just those Fabulous 15 or one series.
Yep, it's true. I mean, I also am excited for people to see the boxes. We've been doing the final touches on the not just the box, what's shown on the Kickstarter, but like the pre-press for the back of the box and the other side of the spine. And actually we decided to do something really fun with the opposite spine. So that's a little reveal I'm excited for people to see as well.
How about this? Because you're using the original advertisements, right?
Yeah.
So what if people were like, did numbers still accessible? Is it the original or is it fakes? Like,
no, we're not changed. I mean, I hope this is not an issue.
So it'd be just like having an book, and hopefully everybody knows.
Exactly. So I mean, we're not representing or warrantying any of the ads in the books. If any of those phone numbers still work, I'm very curious what they lead to, because it's probably not the thing that they led to at the time. But it's a great example of, and actually this is something that Adam mentions in the YouTube interview that we talked about a few minutes ago. That so Suspense Comics #3 is this incredible cover of these kind of Nazi KKK, bad guys threatening this, woman who's tied up. And that's the front cover. So the front cover is, Nazi KKK, kidnap, torture kind of a situation. The back cover is how to write better love letters. So it's a really interesting juxtaposition audience for these books, and also I think, they talk about this on the show, and it's such a good point that, we forget comics are, I think, especially older comics are so perceived as such a, male dominated medium. But actually, like, if you look at what they were advertising, there's clearly a, pretty robust female audience, little, girl audience for this stuff as well. Because it really is this fascinating combination of, like, again, sort of action, horror, whatever, and then, how to write better love letters. There's a few ads in a few of these which are like undergarment ads. Like,
I was gonna say, I feel like the old I always remember are just like the bodybuilder guy flexing.
There's not only the bodybuilder guys, there's a couple of these issues where it's like 3 competing bodybuilder guys, like, in the same issue.
So yeah, they'll have like the dumbbell weights, and then like, I don't know if you remember this one, but it was like they were selling like the small plot of land in Florida.
Well, what's great, I mean, I mostly, I mean, even for me, like this was a little bit of a surprise because I mostly think of those ads from like the early days of Marvel, which is where I really started collecting comics. And so I'm, the Hostess. I have very fond memories of like, Spider-Man fighting Green Goblin over Hostess Twinkies, and we're still doing the kick sand in your face, bodybuilder, don't be a shrimp or a wimp, ads. I ordered the Spider-Man web shooters that you could get out of the comics, which were just absolute garbage, but they sure made them look cool. All of
they showed up.
Yeah, all of the sea monkeys, like sea monkeys look like they were so cool.
I do remember the sea monkeys.
So there was, but what's interesting is like, so those are all also under the auspices of the Comics Code Authority. So those are relatively like toys, games, novelties, like the kicking sand in your face bodybuilder guide is probably about as edgy as, that stuff gets. But you go back to this pre-code era and just like the stories and some of the content is really pushing the boundaries. The range of what they're advertising is just wild because it really is everything from like writing better love letters to more shapely brassieres. It's just a pretty incredible mix of stuff. So it really does add a ton to the flavor.
Back then they were almost more like
well, we lost Tiny for a second, but he's back.
Nope.
Back then, they were
almost more like magazines.
Well, yeah, I mean, not magazine sized, but I think they were treated a little bit more like a cousin to magazines in that this was this comics were a very mass market thing in a way that they aren't in this country at this point. Like comics have become much more of a niche industry, whereas in the Superman sold many times over 1 million copies a month when it launched in the 40s. And so this was a time when comics were 10 cents and kids were reading comics. Like what else are they going to do? And so I think we talked about this a little bit last week. It is kind of funny that we see the outrage for the seduction of the innocent and the public Senate hearings, and comics are corrupting our youth. And I think looking through the lens of what we think comics are now, it all seems ridiculous. But when you actually look at like, oh, these were being primarily marketed to kids, and some of these stories are a little edgy and intense, you're like, it wasn't actually for nothing. Like, there's a bunch of these which like I would not let my 8-year-old read this right now. So it is a really interesting balancing act of like, really being anti-censorship and anti, book burning, and wanting to, deliver these in the way that they existed at the time. And also like, okay, like maybe that wasn't the right way to handle it. Not in favor of book burning. But like a little moderation isn't the worst thing from time to time. So or at least, having people be able to make those choices. Because I think, a lot of, I can only imagine in the same way that, we're not always 100% paying attention to what our kids are watching on YouTube. I'm sure there was a whole category of parents who are just like, they're comic books, whatever. Meanwhile, it's like how to sell your soul, step 1.
Oh man.
It's all fascinating. It's part of what I love about this whole project is it's art, it's craft, and it's just fascinating kind of this moment that we're capturing. So
well, I think I've seen some of the advertisements and stuff leaked on some little sneak peeks and stuff.
Adam I think it's on our Instagram. Adam put a video out that was just like a collection of some of the ads.
Yeah.
A quick kind of cycle through, but
it just looks so cool, man. I just can't wait. I mean, I don't think, you talk about it, but it's like nobody's really seen anything like this. And I don't think that they're really prepared for what that actually means, I think, a lot of people still probably just read it as pre-code horror facsimile collection, and they're probably just like thinking, You know?
Well, that's why I just really can't wait for these to land in people's hands. Like, it's going to just be really fun for me to see people's reactions, because I think this is, you know, there's always a little bit of a concern when you're getting into something like this of like, you know, we think it's going to be this, we believe we can make it this, and, you know, we've done enough kind of testing and you know, making sure all the processes are right and the right people are involved, and like, you know, there's still a little bit of like, but is it really going to be what we hope it's going to be? And getting this last, you know, printer samples that I showed earlier, like that was really the moment for me where it's just like, oh yeah, this is everything we want it to be. And I just can't wait for people to be able to touch it and feel it, experience it.
Now, do any of those variant covers have like the embossments on them, or is it
not embossed? No, it's a, you know, the foils will be what people kind of, you know, expect as foils. So they're, you know, they're glossy and they're, you know, metallic, and then
are they harder, or
they're thicker just by the nature of the material. So it's, you know, if you've ever seen a foil cover, it's very, very similar, just a slightly different
so like in general, I mean, a lot of times harder to damage, maybe if you're like really hard with them, maybe easier.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't suggest probably like running your pocket knife over them.
Yeah. No, I mean, but they are a little bit thicker, and
yeah, I mean, they're you know, the foil is you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's not mylar, but it's a more plasticky kind of material. And then the fluorescents and the regular covers are basically the same cover stock, but, you know, different printing techniques.
Different inks. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'm so curious about all of them.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So yes, there will come a time over the next couple of months where you're just gonna see this whole area.
That's full. Everything's full.
nothing but pre-code horror. And then we'll go from there. But so yeah, man, it's gonna be good times for sure. So, any other questions before we wrap it up for the evening?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, I'm just gonna say, everybody out there, you know, 13 days left, almost 800 backers, 1,000, I think, in 2 weeks is well achievable. Yeah. But no, I mean, I definitely want to see that next milestone. I want to see what's not announced, you know, like where
we got a few more.
Please go check it out and back at the level you're at. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I want to throw out a little, you know, obviously back the campaign if you're interested in getting these books and this product. But, you know, one little trick I will say for anyone that's on the fence, you know, back it. There's a starting tier which you can just contribute to the campaign without choosing a reward tier. You know, throw in $1, and what that will get you is all the updates. And so, like, we put out backer updates, you know, in some cases a couple times a day, certainly several times a week. And it's not just updates on the campaign. We also are sharing some of the behind the scenes process. You know, when we have these other, you know, interviews and things that happen in other places, we tend to send them out to the backer updates first. This is where we'll make, you know, initial announcements for, you know, kind of how you can tie what this campaign is to the next campaign. So, like, this is you know, it's a little group of people that are going to kind of get early access to some of the new stuff.
It's not that little group.
So, well, it's a growing group. But I mean, literally, if you just want to kind of be up to date on what's happening with the campaign as you decide kind of how and where you want to back it, like, just put yourself down for $1 and you'll get those updates. Yeah. So that's my cheat code. It's my cheat code for you for the evening.
Yeah, for sure. It's the life hack.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we are having a blast, and I think people are going to just be.
How about this for the last question?
Yeah.
What do you think about this Tyson fight?
I mean, I only honestly know a tiny bit about it, just because Mike Tyson is certainly a big pop culture figure. Vaguely aware of is it Jake Paul? Yeah. So I don't really follow boxing, but I think, just based on the little bit that I have seen, if I had to make a prediction, if I was gonna bet some money on it, it's 100% gonna be Tyson.
I so scared of him, even through the TV. Like,
yeah. I mean, actually, he seems like a shockingly sweet guy when you see him in interviews and stuff like
until
that.
he gets into the ring.
Until he gets into the ring.
And he even said publicly, like, my own mama should be scared if she's
well, I mean, part of that is a persona you have to adopt, I think. But I also, I mean, again, I don't really follow this stuff, but I have heard some accounts from other people that, you know, have been like, you've never been hit until you've been hit by him. And like,
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's gonna be, if I was gonna predict anything, I would definitely say it's gonna be him, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty fast.
It's very entertaining. I think I saw like the most recent update is Jake Paul's wearing like a $1 million outfit. And he's got like these diamond ear protectors that are like $100,000 each or something, or I don't know.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
That's where boxing and WWE start to merge.
So just for that alone, I was like, man, I really hope Mike Tyson knocks him out quickly. But
knock the diamonds off your ears. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah. I want to see what a $1 million. I mean, what, you're gonna wear a robe and who knows?
Who knows? But it'll be interesting. So I will actually, let's wrap up with a slightly different thing, as you know, we used to always do this on the podcast and things that we would do. So what is your Hujima flip for the week? And for those that don't know, our Hujima flip is whatever's kind of top of mind. Maybe it is the fight, but top of mind from pop culture or anything else that you're reading.
I
enjoying.
Have seen literally like the most recent thing I watched was the most recent like alien kind of documentary on that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It was decent. I mean, I was not overly impressed, but in my personal most recent news, I've got the Incredible Hulk Treasury.
Nice.
Or Rampaging Hulk, shall I say. And I am like so obsessed now. These giant pages and the artwork, like that's like my new man, I've like not experienced these really. So I'm just like extremely blown away. So now that's what like I want to see more of those. I mean, I know there's tons of collections that have like Star Wars and Conan, and I mean like that's what I'm crazy about right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. You've been posting some pictures in the Discord. It's very cool. Yeah, I mean, the thing I haven't seen yet, but is kind of top of mind, is I cannot wait to dive into the new season of Arcane on Netflix this weekend. So I'll start watching.
I want to watch the first one.
You gotta watch the first one, obviously, first. But as I've said, I think, you know, this is a tie-in to League of Legends. I'm not really a League of Legends player, but as a series, and especially as a kind of pushing the art of 3D animation. I mean, the story is great, characters are great. I loved the first season, but it's a visual aesthetic for 3D animation which you've never seen before, and is just unbelievable.
I'll definitely say, like, I saw the trailer on Netflix, because, you know, they automatically start, and I think it's on for me anyway. It's like the first.
It's top of the list right now for sure.
Oh yeah. So I mean, like, I sat and watched that, and I was just like, oh my god. But for me, I mean, like, I usually don't get to sit down and watch TV till late, and I don't want to start something like that I'm not going to be able to finish.
Yeah.
And I think right now Deadpool 2 just came, or Deadpool Wolverine just came out on Disney. So
it did, yeah.
So that also is like high on my list to just sit down and watch that a few times.
It's a ton of fun, but I cannot recommend the first season of Arcane enough if you haven't seen it, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting into the second. So that'll be something I start this weekend for sure. But all right,
definitely. Even like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as we're wrapping up, where's the best place for people to find you if they want to connect with you?
Everybody knows that it's Discord. No, Discord. Discord's the number one place anyway, because you're gonna get access to everybody. I mean, you've got the whole team and you've got the whole family that's hanging out. And if you can't find me, you're gonna find the next best person. So Discord is my number one. You know, any of the socials, you look for Tiny Universe or Secret Agent Tiny, something along those lines. I'm gonna pop up. That's, you know.
Very cool. And then we were talking about last week, like, you know, both of us kind of spending a little more time on Facebook as well. So going old school, and where do people find you on Facebook?
Facebook, for anybody that doesn't think that they're too cool for Facebook right now, because you know, I think it's like an old person thing now. But for comics, Facebook is popping.
It's where it's happening. It
popping
really is where the comics are. Yeah.
But I go by my real name. I go by Scott Pierpont. And, you know, hit me up if you can find me on there, like me. I don't know. At one point, I was like a public figure or something. So it wouldn't friend me. I don't know if I fixed it or not, but
interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm always on there trying to sell comics. I'm always on there promoting Macroverse. That's, you know, it's what I do. So that's kind of, you know, that's where I spend a lot of my time is Facebook.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, I mean, I am at Ebonverse just about everywhere. Personally, at Macroverse on Twitter/X, and at Macroverse HQ on just about every other platform, because those darn people that have at Macroverse got there first on that one.
You see what I'm saying? I'm like, don't take my name.
But right now, also, you know, we are answering all the comments that people have on Pre-Code Horror. So if you want to hit us up about anything specifically related to that, you can do it directly through the Kickstarter. So again, just search Pre-Code Horror. There's a place to drop comments, which we'll certainly answer. And also on Facebook and Instagram, there's quite a bit of discussion going on around
I'm almost embarrassed to say this out loud, but I did actually get TikTok like yesterday.
There's more going on TikTok. We haven't cracked. We do have a TikTok channel. It's also, I believe, at Macroverse HQ. We haven't posted there in a while, but honestly, like, it's something as we go into the next project, it's something I'm interested in exploring a little bit more too. Because
I mean, it's wild too. I don't know. I've been against it for a long time for some reason, but
yeah, it's a little, you know, if you like dances or conspiracy theories, it's a good place to hang out. Or both dancing conspiracy theories. I think, you know, I think we just invented a new category, but it's something to look into. So yes, I guess at some point we'll say where to find us on TikTok, but for now, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Kickstarter. That's enough to keep people busy. So Tiny, thank you for hosting as always. Appreciate your yourself and your shirt. And we'll be back same time ish next week in the same places. Follow and subscribe. You know, I think we're gonna have more stuff happening on YouTube as more of this rolls out as well. So definitely make sure you're subscribed there. And the hits will keep on coming. So everybody have a wonderful night. And I am ending the